Hey, y'all, welcome to back to the Popby Podcast. I am Matt Aguirre. I am a broker associate with Popby Realty, and I'm here with the co-founder, and CEO, Rome Gregorio. Rome, thanks for coming back today. Rome, just tell us real quick, just a little bit about a quick summary of your background.
Yeah, sure. Happy to, Matt. Good to see you again. When you talk about entrepreneurship, I guess the easiest and shortest description of my life has been, an entrepreneur is that person willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid a 40-hour job. And that pretty much defines my life and the pursuit of all things created under the sun in the area of entrepreneurship and business leadership. I have always been that person who wanted to solve problems and felt like the business world and the entrepreneurial world would be that place to come up with, new ideas and explore some of the, the thoughts that I had. And that's, a long list of things from, starting in the health and fitness business. I was literally the pool boy that grew up to own his own health club and created some real estate opportunities there. And through real estate, the investment side, the development side, it catapulted me into other categories of entrepreneurship. And I can give you a long list, but some of the most memorable in recent past is getting to operate as a franchisor and taking a brand concept that we invented in South Texas and taking it around the world, and finding myself developing an ice cream franchise in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Dubai. Markets that I just never thought. I mean, it's really it's a God story. It's a much bigger story than me, Matt. But you know me pretty much better than most, and know that that entrepreneurial journey comes from a belief that God has really bigger plans for us, and if you're willing to step out and take that faith step, it kind of sets you out on a journey. And today, it's no different. We're out to try to solve some of the problems or challenges that the real estate business has, and so we launched Popby Realty, our virtual brokerage.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah, because Rome's been between that ice cream brand and what I thought was pretty interesting was professional fisherman for the FLW tour, and you had what was it? Kellogg's was one of your sponsors.
Yes, Kellogg's cereal was the team that we would represent. We were sponsored by Kellogg's and got to spend some years on the water. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so cool. So we've got Popby Podcast, and it came about because you were in charge of mergers and acquisitions with a rather large traditional brokerage, correct? Yeah. And what were some of the things because you were in some pretty big rooms, owners of these brokerages, and what were some of the things that were like that they're talking about that are broken with these traditional brokerages?
Sure. Yes, I got the opportunity to travel around the country and be in rooms where some of the most successful broker owners of these franchises were coming together to solve their own problems, because the way the market had turned after 2023, 2024 was dismal, and some major changes there with the NAR settlement. 2025 being what it was. We just found. I found that leaders all around the country were asking the question, what do we do, and what can we how can we reinvent ourselves as an industry, yet realizing that their hands are tied to some degree, because as a franchisee, you're bound by the franchisor's systems and procedures. That's what franchising is all about. So from that, the talk in the room was, what does the future of real estate look like? And if we could eliminate all barriers, what will we do differently? So Matt, I would tell you that, one of the common denominators that was maybe spoken, or maybe the unspoken message that I got from these rooms, is that, agents across the country, how do I want to say this? I want to say that agents have been quietly quitting.
Yeah.
Quietly quitting. You don't wake up one day and decide, hey, I'm just going to stop doing what I do for a living. You just don't automatically do that. Something, manifests itself in your spirit, in your consciousness, in your belief that, if you're defeated, if you have this defeated mindset, if this narrative is nothing but doom and gloom that you keep telling yourself, what I can attribute, and I've seen in the lives of so many agents across the board, is people are quietly quitting. They're giving up on their agenda, their plan, their business. And it's sometimes it's a slow going process. Sometimes they keep telling themselves this isn't worth it, this isn't happening. And then ultimately it leads to that decision where agents aren't renewing their licenses. They've given up on their brand or their business long before they ever decided that, because they're quietly quitting. And one of the things that I think we want to address is that when a person's suffering, when a person's hurting, I think what's worse than suffering or hurting is suffering or hurting alone. And so what we find is that in that traditional, brokerage model where, brick and mortar is where you come to gather and have your meetings, the frequency wasn't enough. Number one, you couldn't just come and solve your the world's problems in 1 hour session. It was a great time to come and gather, but without that constant connectivity, without cultivating a culture where you're there for the other person, and you keep that person from being down and out because you're constantly in the face with that person, encouraging them, giving them ideas, lifting them up, being together, like what we're doing today. It's so valuable. I know I value that time when I get to connect with you and with others, because we're face to face, and there's not much that can happen in our lives without some point or time sharing. Hey, I'm really struggling with this, man. If anything, I just need to talk to somebody about it, right? And that's what I find agents are struggling with the most. If I were just to pinpoint one thing that might be broken, is that we have so many people that are just they're dying on the vine. They're quietly quitting emotionally, mentally, and it leads to a change. And that change either is they're going to stop doing real estate, or they're going to go to another brokerage to find what it is they should have had in the beginning, which is community, right?
Absolutely. And so these owners of these franchises are talking about this, but is there anything that they could even do about it?
No, that really is the rub. In meetings where I've had some of these brokers just kind of laid on the line, they're in desperate times, desperate measures, and unfortunately, the model that they bought into, which once was a very healthy model, very supportive of their lifestyle, it was a very rewarding system, but the market has changed. If we just talk about the way our world is evolving because of AI, I mean, we have the world of information at our fingertips, and AI has changed the framework of how we should live our lives, or how we're going to live our lives. In the past, if you think about it, I'm reading this book. It's called Co-Intelligence. It's probably the number one selling AI book that exists out there. And inside this book, the author describes that, you think about the human aspirations that we have. You want to be as creative. If you're a creative, you want to be as creative as possible. So you're the most creative, ingenious person in your sphere of influence. And if intelligence is something you favor, then you want to be as intelligent and as bright and as brilliant as possible. And so that was the human characteristic. That was the human aspiration that we carried. But then introduce AI, and now AI can create at the level of creativity with no boundaries. Everybody's a Picasso. Right. AI is generating images for you that exceed, what some of our most famous creatives in the world have ever published and are recognized as their life's work. Their AI can do that can generate that for you, so quickly. And as far as intelligence goes, if you favor intelligence and you think that's that was the way you're going to live your life because you aspire to be as intelligent and as educated as possible. Well, now now enters AI, and AI is passing some of the most difficult exams that our world has to offer. It's passing the medical exam, it's passing the state, the law exam, it's passing every and any exam, and throw at it different languages, if you will. And because of the large language models that have been built, and it constantly gets better, suddenly what we used to value as a human attribute and we aspire to become, now we carry that same level of intelligence in our smart devices, and we have access to it. And so, we somewhat have robbed ourselves of that joy, of that ability to really appreciate the hard work that we put into it, because now we just command AI to do the work for us, and we're auto-generating things that are a lot better than we could have done on our own. It's crazy, man. I just, I don't know where this road ends, but I do know that it's disruptive.
Yeah, absolutely. But so you're in the rooms with these brokers, these brokerage owners and everything, and they're all saying, hey, I wish we could fix this. I wish we could fix what broke it, because they're seeing a huge, dysphoria. I mean, their agents are leaving because, I was with the KW office. All right. I was with one of the biggest KW offices in all of Keller Williams. Mm-hmm. And at the time when I was with them initially, I was with them for about 4 years. They went we had about 1,500 agents back then. And I looked kind of recently, and they were around like 700 or 800 now. Yeah. So, you're losing close to 50% of your agents, which is, that's got to be devastating. Sure. And some of those agents might be getting out. All right. They might be just getting out of real estate entirely because it's been a rough couple of years. Mm-hmm. But also some are going to other brokerages. And you were seeing, and you were talking to them, and you're in these rooms with some of these brokerage owners, and they're just handcuffed to their models because, they've got a corporate office, that takes, hey, this is what you've got to do, and you can't do anything different. And they're, like I said, they're just kind of handcuffed to it. But you're like, well, I'm not handcuffed to it. I don't own this brokerage. And so you come up with Popby Realty, which has been in the works for a while. We've talked about that before. This wasn't just something, fly by night that you came up with just 2 or 3 months ago. But how does Popby Realty differ from like a traditional brokerage, or even like another cloud-based brokerage? Because there are differences between, there's differences between like a traditional brokerage is going to be in a brick and mortar building, a cloud-based, and then there's Popby.
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. And I love that question, because the answer lies within the context of understanding, what that traditional brokerage looks like and what it does. And as you go to what they call a team meeting every week, and they get a speaker, they get a sponsor, and that person speaks from the front of the room, and everybody lines up in rows, and they receive the information, irregardless of whether that information is relevant to you or not. So, whether you're a commercial practitioner, you work in farm and ranch, you work in luxury, you're a new agent, whoever and whatever topic that speaker brings to the room at that time, you're going to be subject to. And so the chances are, in a room that big, you're going to be just another number, another name in that room, and the speaker, bought their way in to stand in front of you, right? They sponsored the lunch, and those are good things. I believe in that. But when you get in that room, and week after week, you're quietly quitting, and the message and the instruction and the content that you're getting from that speaker does not apply to you, then the turn of events that we see is that you get the free lunch, and then you leave, never really engaging with anybody, and never really talking about or having the opportunity to connect with anybody to talk about the struggles and the challenges that you're facing. And so I would say that first and foremost, the greatest difference between what we decided to do at Popby Realty is we said that, listen, circles are better than rows. Circles are better than rows. And that's probably the key component. You can actually join a life circle and come to a life circle that's specific to what you need. You can come to the new agent life cycle. You can come to the women in real estate life circle. You could come to a commercial life circle. You can choose to lead a bilingual life circle, because everybody has their place of origin. Everybody has their place of expertise, and why not sharpen that tool with other like-minded persons? And so we build a community within communities, right? We want you to feel like, hey, whatever it is that you need, we need to have a life circle leader leading in that space to speak to you, to encourage you, to understand you better, because I'm not going to understand every description that I just gave you. I know that I'm going to be a good fit for a couple of those, and that might be a place I want to lead in. But to cure or solve the problem of quietly quitting, you've got to speak to where the agents are and where their needs are, and that's what this opportunity does. Is that we want to reach people exactly where they are. In the midst of their struggle. We're not going to be able to control the economy. We're not going to change the market. We could talk about it all day, which is what we find in these team meetings. We're not going to the interest rates. We're all going to be subject to it, but we can endure it together, right? And so we're going to weather that storm together, and that's the model that we've launched.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that drew me to Popby was the circles, the life circles, the collaboration. So because with traditional brokerages, you get so much gatekeeping. Some people don't want to share what's working for them. It's their secret sauce, right? They don't want to share it. But why wouldn't you want to? I mean, you don't look at everybody as competition, it's collaboration. And so that's one of the things that I absolutely loved about Popby is the fact that, like, I'm a life circle leader for buyer's agents. My business, I mean, I'm in my 10th year now, and it's been primarily, it's been buyer heavy my entire time. And especially in 2020, when I started a YouTube channel and I started to get just a huge influx of people. And now, I mean, it's almost 6 years old and I still get leads. I mean, I've got to maintain that channel, but that's another one that I lead, is if anybody wanting to either start or maintain or rev up their YouTube, is those life circles. So for buyer's agents, and that kind of feeds into the YouTube thing. It's like, hey, because if you're going to become my question whenever somebody tells me, hey, I'm going to get my real estate license, I'm like, all right, cool, good for you, congratulations. My first question is, where are you going to find your business? And they're like, I was like, yeah, it's not easy, because I struggled before, and when I first started, and I left law enforcement, and I wasn't making what I was making in law enforcement initially. It happened pretty quick, within a couple of years, but, I had to go through that struggle. And, me as a buyer's agent trying to figure out, hey, where am I going to find my buyers? And I found my niche with YouTube. But now I can go and I can share that with others, and I don't view them as competition, because what's the saying? High tides raise all boats. I want to be able to help others. I want to be able to pour my knowledge, what I've learned between my training and my experience, because there's a difference between the two. Training is learning from other people's mistakes. Experience is learning from your own. And, take that, pour that into others to help them succeed, because that's something that fulfills me. And, so that's something that's huge with Popby is, you're not getting the gatekeeping. You've got the people who are good at what they do that are sharing with others and helping them and help keep them accountable, with these life circles.
Matt, you bring up a great point, because we're not lacking any information in today's age. I mean, you can get information on any subject anytime you want through the available outlets that we have. But I think if you think about the people who really need that mentorship and that growth, and which is everybody, we all need a mentor. We all, I think the very perfect place to be is always mentoring somebody and somebody mentoring you. That's the perfect position to allow yourself to be subjected to in life. Is you're mentoring something, you're using your gifts and talents to give back, and you have somebody that's been there and done that helping you. And so I think that posture of excellence describes the perfect leadership model. And so when you're talking about what you're saying, we don't lack any information. What I think we're lacking is just that the community. We're just not we're just not constantly in community. Like, the audience right now doesn't know that you and I just had a meeting with a company that wants to show us how to do podcasts, and they, had a lot of great information and such. And right after we signed off on the pitch, we went back and got together, and here we are face to face again talking about it, because we have that ability. And one of the things that I absolutely wanted to do in Popby is I wanted to create an environment that would constantly give our agents unlimited community. You can come in, pop in to our headquarters and talk to somebody, see somebody, be connected with somebody, just like you and I are right now. Yet we're miles apart, right? We're having face-to-face communication, and that culture of cultivating ideas and thoughts. I mean, it's just better this way. It's so much better than just sending you a text or an email saying, "Hey, what did you think about that meeting?" I mean, I'd rather talk to you about it, because I can get so much more done.
Yeah, and we both just instinctively came in here into Popby land, because we're in Popby land right now. Like, if you're on YouTube, you can see it kind of behind us. Just give you a glance. We're in our YouTube studio, or I'm sorry, our podcast studio within Popby land. And, we can go to each other's desks and, or leave notes, whatever we need to do, go to training rooms, and everybody be together. But right now we're in our podcast studio. So, but
this is our virtual world. Yeah.
We're still in our virtual world. We can see each other, and that's kind of huge. So you can't see that when you're listening to this on the podcast, but watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. We're on both. But yeah, so find us on Popby Realty, Popby Realty Podcast, Popby Realty on YouTube. You go to popbyrealty.com to be able to find us. And agents, if you're one of these, if this kind of hits a chord with you and you're thinking about making a change, or there's something missing in your brokerage and you're looking for something more because you just feel kind of left out alone, or, if you're a leader that's not been able to pour into others as much as you want, get a hold of us. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And then, have you over at Popby Realty. So Rome, thanks again for your time today. See you Friday at Bible study. I had to miss last week because of the golf tournament, but yeah, this is great information, guys. And make sure you go and like and subscribe on YouTube, and hit a follow for us on the on your favorite podcast platform. We put out stuff every single week. So yeah, thanks again, Rome. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon.